All right, now I'm joined by the Olympic champion at 1500 meters and now getting ready to take on two events at the World Championships, Cole Hocker. It's been a couple days now that kind of everything has settled. How are we feeling about the weekend at USA's?
Good. Yeah, it's nice to have it done with, a relief. I'm sure like you hear that from a lot of athletes, but it's a very nerve-wracking meet. Especially when the team making the team is the expectation now, and anything short of that is a failure pretty much. So it's a big relief. And then yeah, coming out with the 5K win was huge. Obviously really wanted to win the 15, but um, yeah, that was a good kind of reminder of where I'm at in fitness, and then also just like that I'm always a threat no matter what the race is.
We'll dive into both of those races, but to kind of set it up, we've obviously like seen you race a ton, this spring. Does this season feel kind of reflective of past years, or does it feel like more racing, less racing? But it's obviously we saw you more in the 800 than usual, and which is also just sort of like, well, how's that going to help for the 5K and all that kind of stuff? But when you actually structured the season with Coach Thomas, like, did it feel similar to past years? Obviously, last year you were dealing with an injury, toward the start of the year.
Yeah, yeah, this year is pretty much completely different. Like, I mean, it's similar in like a ton of ways, but um, every year's been a little bit different since I've turned pro and the build up and yeah, dealing with injuries or whatever. But then yeah, usually it's you know obviously stay stateside, which I did for the most part, and then do USA's, and then there's the European circuit, and then there's the Worlds, and then there's more European circuit after that. So then this year, it's all done before Worlds, which I'm actually a fan of. I like that. I feel like Worlds should be the last event, but it did change the build up, and then you factor in Grand Slam, which is a completely new thing for everyone and a new way of racing. Like doubling, in all those meets. And then we started in April, and now it's, August. So that's been a very long season, but every race was about a month in between. So it's been weird. Like I felt like there was a part of me before USA's. I was like, I feel like I haven't raced that much. And then I was like, wait, I've actually been racing since April. So yeah, it's been an interesting build up, but obviously happy with how we've timed it so far. And you, you know, say every year, but you want to kind of get that first peek in at USA's, reset, then get that big one in for Worlds. And I feel like I'm right on track to do that. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
You're in year three, basically, of developing as like a dual threat in the 1500 and the 5K. And so now that you've made both teams, it's kind of, all right, now the first step of taking on the world in both of those events. When you reflect on kind of like the training that you did 3 years ago to try and take on like this double, like what feels different about what you were able to handle in year one versus year three now?
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like every year has been, yeah, different as far as how we're building. Like that first year when I, went to the Olympics, obviously that was a collegiate year, so that's way different. Then that next year had huge goals because I was coming off a great year, and I was completely injured for USA's, and that took that off the table. Um, and then same with the following year, I actually was dealing with an injury up until a very short window, and just not enough time to build that 5K side as well. And then last year, it was the Olympic year, and so we wanted to, you know, get razor sharp in the 15, and that was the goal. And obviously, I tried to make that 5K team, but I don't think I was preparing to compete at the international level in the 5K. Whereas this year, it just like I'm saying, we've just had reps and enough time to um, know where we're at and what's possible, and then obviously you have to execute on the weekend. And um, yeah, as obviously it went my way in that 5K this weekend, but um, I feel like we've emphasized that 5K side of it, which I think is why I struggled a little bit in those 800s all year. Like I wasn't running slow, but I was just getting my doors blown off by like legit 800 guys. Um, and now I'm kind of like, well, I see why, and like it is worth it because I've just been building that strength, and it's really hard to balance both of those. But I think I'm doing, yeah, good of a job at that as I can.
In terms of just kind of like this past spring, it feels like because it felt long at times or to start so early. Josh had like a hip thing early on, and then has it been smooth sailing for you this whole entire time, or were there like any tiny hiccups that you caught along the way that you were just like, all right, we nipped that one before it got bad, especially kind of in those early Grand Slam meets?
Yeah, actually, I mean, it's been good. It's been a good build up. Which I'm something I'm definitely like not taking for granted because, I've been in this position a lot and it's rare that you get this uninterrupted training. The only thing I really had was right before that very first Grand Slam in Jamaica. I was in Utah and my Achilles got sore and it was very reminiscent of the same thing that took me out for like 3 months the 2 years ago. And I felt like I just attacked that and like immediately jumped on like physio, PT, iced it, and then in like 4 days I was able to get on top of that. But the only way I knew how to do that was because I missed that opportunity last time. So that was definitely a big that was a dodged bullet. Um, and yeah, then other than that, it's just been yeah really consistent training, and that's really like everyone says that, but it is like the biggest factor if you want to be good at like USA's where it's championship racing, and then definitely the world stage. If you miss that consistency, like I didn't have the perfect consistency leading up to Budapest. I was fit, really got really fit, but then when it came down to it, I just didn't have that edge that I had in Paris. And like that's the difference. So yeah, like just that's the goal now, get to the start line fully healthy in Tokyo.
Yeah, because I was trying to make sense of some of those early races, just of the general purpose, right? Maybe that 800 helps some of that closing speed later on, but you also were 5K focused, and when the 800s weren't as great as maybe as people were expecting, it was my thinking was is the 5K training zapping a little bit of that speed, and so when you reflect on just the 800-meter work, what purpose did it ultimately serve kind of now and to getting to this point?
Yeah, I think it's like the most extreme of, pulling in that other direction. It's besides racing like a 400, but like,
Yeah.
what can you get out of that? So yeah, I think it's really good because I mean, when I'm racing, I'm gonna be, I want to win so bad that I'm gonna like gut myself to run as fast as I can. And those races were the fastest I could go at that point in the year. And that was just, yeah, keeping me pulled towards, I look at it as like a sliding scale of like, this way is the 5K, this way is the 800. And like, I'd be inching towards the 5K and then that'd pull me that way, just that little bit that I needed. And yeah, doing that 3 times, like in 3 months was, yeah, really good. Me and my coach are always like, believe we never want to lose that speed, that fast twitch muscle, like even in the off season, always keeping that engaged. And I think, that 800 is so good for that.
I'm always so curious, and I've asked you, I think, a couple times, maybe last year in the mix zone, about just sort of the supplemental work that you do just on the bike. How much of that has added to your volume and just building that aerobic engine this time around? Does it feel like this year more cycling has been incorporated, or same amount as last year? Like, how are you gauging that?
Yeah, it's pretty similar, the volume this year and last year. But um, it is that exactly like supplemental work where, now I've been with my coach long enough. We found that line of where I can take it on the land, and then yeah, let's supplement that with this cross training. It's not like a brand new concept, obviously, but I think it is nuanced, and you have to know why you're doing it. If you just get on the bike and spin your legs for 2 hours, that's different than trying to get within a certain zone for 2 hours. And you have to just do it with intention, is what I've learned over like the past 3 years since I've been doing it. And I feel like that's what's changed. I've become more intentioned with what I'm doing. If I'm in the pool, which I hate the pool, like I just tell myself I have to stay locked in, otherwise I'm not really getting anything out of this. So yeah, I think that's the biggest difference, just kind of learning how to do it.
So if I'm looking at sort of your results from this past season, what did you focus on, I guess, between Philly and then the U.S. championships that you really wanted to hone in and work on? Because maybe there was, obviously L.A. was probably in the plans and that gets scrapped. But when you look at it and you're like, okay, now I've got like a full month plus of training, what did you want to focus on there?
It was this year, you know, my coach is always waiting to peak at that meet, at that USA's, at the Worlds. And as an athlete, every year I get antsy, and my training partners get antsy, and we're like, when are we going to do a real workout? And that was this year to like a T, which is really hard. Like, um, obviously, I wanted to go to Stockholm and run like a crazy fast 5K time, and a few reasons why I don't think that one went my way, but part of it was just like that wasn't the goal for the year. Yeah, it was a good workout. Obviously, I wanted more than a workout going there, but um, yeah, and just kind of yeah, just that build of this year was so much more drawn out that it was, I think, a little bit more visible. And then obviously people are more tuned in on watching me and watching my races. But if you compare this to my previous years, it was pretty much like clockwork how we timed this season, and nothing really out of the ordinary. Like last year, I think Prefontaine was set up exactly the same time frame away from USA's, and I ended up running a second faster at this one, and then even though again I really wanted to win that race and it didn't feel good getting beat like that, um, I knew like, oh, I'm a second faster than last year, and I ended up winning it all. So I had to be happy with that. And then yeah, this past weekend was just like that next box to check.
Is that where sort of when everyone talks about you this year, just like the supreme confidence that you have in like being able to peak for the championship seasons, now that you have kind of this whole entire blueprint from 2024 that was a golden success, like is that where sort of now you can just draw over year and make those comps that it helps build that confidence?
Definitely, yeah. Like it's one thing to really say, like to say trust the process, and then it's another thing to have proof of that. And obviously last year was all the proof that I needed that this training works, that we're doing it right. Um, and then yeah, this year was filled with like more noise than usual, but I feel like I've managed that pretty well so far, and I think it's a good thing. Like it's just helping me really focus on what's important, and yeah, right now it's just those getting those workouts in.
All right, so let's go into USA's. You start with the 1500 first round. You described this one as tempoing a 332. Felt that easy?
But yeah, like uh, it felt really good, and I did that last year kind of, and it would just go to the front and find my tempo, and um, it was 334 last year, and I was like, thought the same thing. I was like, whoa, like I would have been good with 336, and see who's there with that. And then this year was the same thing. I was kind of trying to run like 334. But yeah, it just felt really good, and it was a good sign. And um, I have a good feel of what is gonna exhaust me for the next round. And yeah, it was just really good. And I also believe like so many people in prelims now, you jog 3 laps and then run an all out 400. And I wonder which one is really more of a toll on the body, because, sometimes on those sit and kick races, if you have to, go all out 400, all out 600, your legs are cooked after that versus when I do like I run even, I come off it feeling pretty good and like not too sore. So that's like another thing that I've just kind of learned throughout the years on what is going to put me in the best position for that next round. And then obviously also I just want to be in the front, just to stay out of trouble, just because the U.S. championships, we've all seen how things can go, and yeah, I don't want to be in traffic when I don't need to be.
So then for the final, the whole talk around this event was just how in general on the global scale, everyone's gotten faster. in the U.S. it felt like there were more players this year in contention to make the team, and that it's a clean slate. Like, you made the Olympic team last year. It's not a guarantee going into 2025. What was sort of the race plan drawn up by Coach Thomas ahead of this race?
It's pretty similar to 2024, and just stay, everyone had a good idea that Yard was going to take it out, and, that's what happened. And I think a lot of people were keyed in on that. And I kind of thought that was going to be the case. So I just had to make sure just to not get into trouble there, because I'm sure like five, six people's race strategy was stay glued to Yard and you'll be good. And so I just kept that in mind. And I didn't want to get too, so I was in like fourth, I think a lot of the race. And luckily there was a line. It wasn't just running outside of lane one the whole time. But yeah, that was pretty much race strategy and just stay within striking distance. And yeah, it paid off. I think there was I had like probably a little bit of a tactical error just with like 250 meters to go. I just got in a little bit of traffic. But kind of after thinking about it, I played the race too safe to win, but safe enough to make the team. And like I said it in other interviews, but I'm like really grateful to make that team, because say I would go for the win, and you don't know what can happen. You can fall back and not make the team at all. So yeah, definitely played it safe. I wanted to get that top three. I think more so than I wanted to win, which it's always like a tough. It's like really a game time decision in that race. I think if I went with maybe 250 to go, like I did last year, I could have won that. But it was also into that headwind on the backstretch, and there's a possibility that I get tired and everyone else sees that top three position, and I get passed, and that would have been worst case scenario. So yeah, those are kind of like the thoughts after it.
How annoying was that headwind? Because you got it, I think, both in the 15 and the 5K this weekend.
Yeah. Luckily, the 15, I did my best to tuck in, like I'm saying, almost to a fault there. I think I thought about it maybe a little too much, but it was there because usually, obviously, I've run Hayward a ton, and sometimes when you're warming up, it'll be super windy, and then you'll get in there and there's no wind at all, just because how that stadium's set up. But for whatever reason, this time it was there. Yeah, but in the 5K, it was luckily slow enough to where I was thinking that. I was like, is this taking it out of me? I was like, no, I could run 67s all day. Like, I don't care if there's like 30-mile-per-hour wind in my face. Like, I can lead this.
One thing you said after the 15 final was that if it were a world final, you would have run that race differently. Like, what do you mean by that? And is that just simply in this one, top three is getting the job done versus obviously at a world final, it's go for the win?
That's exactly what it is. And what I was saying about just playing it safe, like at the worlds, obviously the medals, being in the medal contention is like that threshold, but there I'm way less inclined to play it safe. Just because that's some place that you want to make sure you didn't hold anything back. Where, like I'm saying, talking about USA's, where I felt like I had a second or two in me. I was holding back because I didn't want to fall into that top three contention. But yeah, I think that's true. And like, I don't know. Obviously, I really wanted to win USA's, and you would think 330 would get it done, which I did last year. And the field was in shambles last year with a 330 race, but this year it's like there was a pack with 200 meters to go, and so it just changed. And then also like, how disappointed can I be when the top three run 330, maybe top four? Like, yeah, it's just like such a crazy event right now, and everyone's saying it, but every meet, it's almost every meet this year, it seems like it gets crazier.
Yeah. When you described it as the easiest 330 that you've run, what made it feel so easy?
Yeah, wasn't trying to, come off any kind of way, but it was just how I felt in the moment. I really thought we were running pretty tactically. And I thought, obviously, I knew the last lap was fast, but um, I thought it was like, yeah, maybe we were running 3:35 pace, and then we had a fast last lap. Um, but that wasn't really the case. Like it was pretty hot from the gun, and Yard kept it fast, and I think I was just so mentally like present. Um, and a lot of the time in those super fast races, I am not very mentally present, and it just instinct decisions, whatever. This one I was thinking the entire time, which, can be a bad thing if it's too slow, but that's kind of why I thought it was slow. And then obviously like just my fitness is there, which gives me like so much confidence because obviously that's what you want to feel coming away from USA's. But that was pretty much, yeah, my thought process on that.
Yeah, so what are you thinking when I think it was at 250 to go or something around there where like there was you even I think had to put a hand up like in front of you. It was Vinciati or someone was like ahead of you, and then with 100 to go, just jostling for that third spot. Like it was like was that hard or did you know Yard and Hobbs were coming back towards you?
I didn't really know. And I couldn't, I wasn't even really deciphering who was who, but I was just in a pack. And there was one moment of like, uh-oh, like I'm in like fifth or sixth. Like we got to make this team. But then immediately after that, like 120 meters, I knew I was going to make the team. I actually thought I might win with 120 meters to go, but those guys finished really strong. Um, but yeah, I didn't really even remember putting my hand out until I watched the race back. And yeah, that was like, again, that one tactical error. Of just getting in that position. I think I could have just moved at least to the outside a little bit to not let those guys trap me on the rail. But yeah, there's so many ways that it can go, and there's so many different ways that literally the last 50 meters can shake out that like all of the it's in retrospect it's so easy to say oh just you should have done this, but it's just not the case so often. So I can't really be too upset with the way I ran that last 200.
In kind of watching back like the interviews you coming through the mix zone and the content creator zone and on TV and all that stuff, the emotions afterwards, like it felt like mostly relief and like not much frustration, which I feel like a lot of people thought that you would have of like being the Olympic champion, reigning US champion, like just finishing third on the day. But is that just because like, all right, now clean slate, like going forward?
Yeah, 100%. Like yeah, I understand. Like yeah, I had a couple people text me that are like, I know you're probably pissed, and I'm like, not really. Like this is such a like. First of all, thanks. That's the first thing I want to read when I get back to my phone. But um, like it's so hard to make, and again, like every year the top three resets. It doesn't matter what you did the previous year, and like if you need any more evidence than this 1500 final, like yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Like everything is so cutthroat, and yeah, just being getting on that top three was a big relief, and I just knew that the big peak is coming in September, and so I can I can live with this for now, and I can also just use it to now I know where I'm at exactly, and so it's really all good takeaways. Like obviously said it like 5 times already, but I wanted to win that race. There's no secret. So there's always some disappointment, but there's a bigger race this year than that one. So there's no reason to get hung up on that, especially like, yeah, it's all about keeping the mental clear right now also. So getting hung up on a race a month and a half out is not ideal.
So then after you come off the track from the 15, your body, because you said it felt easy to run that 330, you only have one round of the 5K. Are you just like champing at the bit at that point, being like, all right, like we'll get him in the 5K the next time around?
Yeah, yeah, and it's like very Interesting how like I just my own like the mental side of it, how it changes going into that 5K where now the pressure is completely off in my mind. I don't think a ton of people had me winning, definitely, and I'm not even sure that many people had me making that team. Um, and so then, yeah, it's nice to go back to the underdog in a way in that race, where obviously all eyes are going to be on me. I think regardless of the race at this point, but um, yeah, it was like I was very surprised how my body felt coming off those two races because it was a 3:32 race and a 3:30 race as well. It's not like two jog two jog races or even one race that was a jog. So it was really good coming off that, and then it was just yeah, I went into it really casually, which I don't often do, and I can't get there. Like mentally, I'm too dialed in, nervous, whatever it is, but very rarely do I get a race where I'm like, all right, like this, all I have in front of me is opportunity, nothing to lose. That's very hard to come by at this point in my career. So, and that's how I felt that morning. And I kind of just kept saying to myself, like I feel good enough to win. If it goes fast, it's gonna be harder. But if they let this thing sit around, then I'm gonna be in a really good spot. And then yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Do you carry that levity into the call room as well, or was there a moment where okay, then you actually did like lock in?
I mean, a little bit, but like a fraction of that weight of the 1500 call room. Where like in there, it's like the worst place on earth in my opinion. Like
We need
it's
cameras in that place. Like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, everyone just minding their own, but you can tell like you can cut the tension with a knife. Like everyone's just so in their own head. It seems like at that point. But yeah, into that 5K, I also had Cooper there, and he's always very lighthearted warming up, more so than I am, and so like that just also kept it going. Um, just like yeah, the again like the weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I just got to just race.
did you take any cues from watching the men's 10K and how that race finished? Obviously, like, that one was a much slower one, but the close was much harder.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I was ready for obviously like I think a lot of people didn't think that it would I would be in the front until 500 meters to go, including myself. And so kind of my plan going in was just get not even necessarily to the front, but in the front area. And then as soon as someone makes a move, which like you expect like a Grant Fisher or Nico to make that move from a K or a mile out. And I just told myself when that move gets made, just stick on them like glue and then see what you have and then see what you have left. And then the race couldn't have really been any more different than that. Like every lap that I was leading, I like mentally saw my chances of making this team going up, like clicking off. I'm like, all right, a mile to go. Like they're still letting me lead this thing. And then 3 laps to go, 2 laps to go. I couldn't believe it. So, and then right when they went, I did get stuck a little bit, and then had to regroup and get reattached. But yeah, with 300 to go, I knew I could make the team just based on how I felt. I didn't know I could win, so it's a fun last lap.
Are you holding back laughter at a K to go? And like, it's like, I'm still here.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Like, I mean, everyone felt great. I think at a K to go almost. Like, definitely everyone in that top six or like yeah, like everyone was feeling good there, um, and then I knew that they were feeling good, so I just had to stay composed really, and um, yeah, I kind of felt like a cycling race, and I was just watching for someone to attack, and it just never came, never came, never came, and then eventually, yeah, Nico set it off, but um, yeah, I was ready to let it go to the last 100, just jogging.
when when you see the inside lane open up, are you thinking, I can't believe this is it? You're Mr. Inside Lane at this point.
Yeah, it's it's like not even by design. It just it's something that happened. But I didn't even really think about it on that one. And then after the race, everyone's like, the inside opened again. It was just like Paris. I was like, I guess it was, but these are completely different, differently run races. So I don't know. It was that wasn't the plan. So many things just happen, and um, I do think like I'm just good at positioning myself, and that one was even tighter than Paris though. Like Paris, if you see it from the head-on angle, it's really not that small of a gap. This one, I was like, I watched it back and I was very close to that rail, a little alarmingly close. So I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, and kind of watching it back because Nico went and made kind of the big move. Grant was the one who countered it. So Grant wasn't even like in a position where he could have been the one to shut the door. So like it was kind of served up to you to close it out.
Yeah, no, definitely, and that's what happens. Like it's always the person who thinks that someone is coming up on them, and you instinctively shift out like that. And I don't know, like I'm not thinking about this in the race, but that is how it goes. And so Nico felt Grant coming up, and instinctively he just shifts out. And um, yeah, I'm just able to identify that, I guess, in that the last 100 meters.
So you win the race, and I really want to kind of get into just like this decision to take the 5K so seriously this year. It started last year. You didn't end up making that team, but then even for this year, what made you so dead set on like I really want to make both these teams?
Yeah, I think it comes from like first of all a place of where I want to see myself as a runner. Like that's where it starts. And I think like all the greatest 1500 runners have this ability to double. Like you see, Seb Coe does it in the 815. I'm blanking on like El Garouge can do both, Lagat can do both, obviously Jakob can do both. And so it's how I want to see myself as an athlete, where I see myself progressing, and to me that was the next natural progression. And it's really like obviously now I don't know, I guess it's always been this way, but you can do both. Like there's no overlap, and so it makes sense. And the 1500 is still my priority, but this is where I see myself going. Not that I'll ever be a only a 5K runner. I hope not. I'm gonna keep doing the 15 as long as I can. But yeah, I want to be like a dual threat. And so then it's identify where I want to go, and then we tailor the training towards that. And then, like I was saying, you need the season to line up for this to work out as well. And so finally, it's like this season has come. I think I might have. I think like I could have made that team last year if USA's was set up the same way. But I was exhausted, like mentally, more so even than physically last year after those 1500s. Obviously, I was riding that high, but yeah, the mental toll of that extreme come up and then you come down and then you have to race 6 more miles, and it's a lot. So yeah, that's I guess why I was so adamant about that this year.
I think it's the other part of the psychology is just like the timing of it and why now when you're 24 years old, like you could take this on in a couple years, and like coming off of Paris just enjoy being the best 1500 meter in the world for a couple of years, but you're embracing this challenge.
Yeah, yeah, I just don't see it as taking away from my 1500 at all. If that was a thought, then I wouldn't do it. Like, yeah, I only want to win. Um, like, I want to win both, but I only want to win the event that I'm in. And so it doesn't make sense to try to get third in both events. I'd much rather get gold and nothing than, bronze in those two. Um, so yeah, I'm just confident in yeah the training, and I don't feel it taking away at all. And actually said it multiple times, but it adds to it, adds to the
Mhm.
strength. And I think that's why like the 1500s now are so strength based. Um, a lot of the best 1500 guys in the world are. really good in the 5K. Like you look at someone like George Mills, who's just excelling at both. And I think it's more rare these days where it's the 815 guy that's doing really well at these championships. Obviously, like it all depends on how you are as a runner, but that's more how I'm geared right now.
So how are you mentally approaching the world schedule? Because it will go back to, I think, 2 rounds of the 5K, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll have the three 1500s and then 2 rounds of the 5K.
yeah. No, exactly. Like it is that system that completely exhausted me last year, and I'm fully aware of that. And um, the only real difference is that there's an off day in
Mm.
between the 1500 final and the 5K prelim. Um, because last year I was thinking like if I made that, I didn't sleep that night after.
Seeing
Like,
Hobbs on the track for that 800
yeah,
prelim the
I felt
next day
terrible.
was awful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So like it really wouldn't have worked out last year. Like, I mean, obviously, like if you win gold, yeah, like you got to celebrate. But so now there's that buffer day, and that's the only real difference. But it is still gonna take a lot of strength, and now that's the blessing of having this period between USA's and Worlds is that this is like a legit training block. You don't always get this, and that's part of the reason I'm not racing in Europe because I want this training block, and that's how this season's been set up. And um, yeah, it's like we've got to this point and still haven't really checked off this last cycle. And this is where the intensity increases and the volume decreases. And um, yeah, I'm just like excited to hammer this home and yeah, improve on those areas where I felt like I was lacking last year.
The last two World Championship 5K finals, I think were like 13:10 races. Doha's kind of a little bit of an outlier, and that one was like sub 13. Before that was like the Mo Farah tactical era of racing. In a 13:10 race, do you trust this kick that you unleashed at USA's to hold up against the best in the world?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And that's also like you obviously never know how the race is going to go on the day, but it really blows my mind on how I don't know, maybe I shouldn't even say this, but how these 10K, 5K runners can train such volume and be so good at running hard for a long time and then let this race only be 13:10.
Yeah.
And watching that the past couple of years, that's what told me like I need to get there because as soon as I'm there, I believe I can run in those races. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It'll be a different thing, but yeah, I've just been watching those races the past few years and wanting to be in them.
What else have you picked up from watching, those early Diamond League races this year where there are new 1500-meter studs popping up? Where I mean, Azadine Habs made like the semifinal last year, now he's run 327, and Fanwell Coach has popped out of nowhere this year and is now another 327 guy. And so when you see these new people, like, are you watching anything to just like pick up on the tiny things of how, like, Josh got to race him? But for you, I guess the best you can do is probably just watch film at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I, I just like I don't really watch that much track outside of my races, but obviously I see the results. It's impossible to avoid because it really like you want to know who the key players are, but it doesn't really matter as long as you know there's like what people are capable of really. And I just think like there's just so many examples of you can run fast, but then can you run fast after three races and at a championship and with pressure on your back? And now, you know, people are going to be expecting a lot out of a 327 guy. And so it's a completely different ball game. So, but, a lot of the time those guys do run really good. And so you have to be aware of them. But I think last year was the same thing. It wasn't as fast, but there was all these crazy times leading up to it. Um, I had like on it's like one of like the slowest times in the final, like heading into it, like PRs. And then the final happened, and that's how it shook out. So, um, yeah, times are really good, but it doesn't hold as much weight as I think a lot of people give it.
Yeah, so in a way, when you have these guys who are running one-off fast races, and then you have championship racers who've proven it, like who are question marks, I think at this point, where it's like Yared has to do quite a bit, I guess, to get his spot via the Diamond League final wild card. Jakob, there's question marks, right, about like where his health is after scratching from these two Diamond Leagues. Does that make you think that the 15 is going to be run a little bit differently this time around? Or is it just
Yeah,
plug and play new players, yeah, in their place?
yeah, it's possible. Yeah, that's definitely a consideration. Like, um, it's no secret that a lot of people key off of Jakob at these championships, like the past few years. So, um, I hope he's there. But yeah, it could be run differently. But I also think like that these super fast races were, almost like now I feel very comfortable and very fit. Like I can run fast times and kick off of them. But before that, I was almost like I was hoping for a slow race. Like in Tokyo, I was hoping for a sit and kick race. And then I felt like I trained hard enough and modified my training enough to then be able to hang in these fast ones. So if it's any different, I feel like it plays more into my favor. But like everyone can kick in the 1500 and everyone thinks they have the best kick. Um, but I think regardless, like it's gonna be fast. Like there's no 335 winning a worlds anymore. It just like it just feels would feel so slow. I think that like everyone would get antsy. Um, I could be wrong, but like even like me, like I wouldn't want the race to go that slow. And I think so many people are the same way. So it's definitely a new new era, but yeah, could be a little bit different this year. We'll see.
All right, so my final question is: you brought up Tokyo and having raced there, obviously at the last Olympics or the previous Olympics. What's got you most excited about going back to that stadium and then this time around, full stands, hopefully? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. Like it's gonna be, regardless, I think it's gonna be a better experience than yeah, the Tokyo Olympics, just based on like stadium environment feel. Like um yeah, I think from what I've heard, like there's gonna be a ton of people there. There always is at Worlds. So it'll be awesome. Like there has been no other race that felt like that Olympic final. It was so ridiculous. Like it felt like a time trial, and um, I'm also just a completely different athlete than I was back then, and um, it is very cool to see it come kind of full circle. And a lot of the USA practice facilities are at the same places, and so in a weird way, I'm familiar with this place all the way across the world. So I'm excited to go back and also not have it be COVID and not be locked down. And yeah, it'll be a good experience.
Yeah, you didn't get to go out or anything like that
I
and
didn't
see
see
any of
anything.
it?
I, no, and everyone asked. That was the first thing everyone asked me, like, "What'd you see in Tokyo?" And I was like, "Literally nothing. Like whatever they showed us in the Olympic Village. Yeah, that was it."
All right, so right from the get-go, this will be a much more full itinerary, I think, once the racing is done.
Yeah, yeah, I'm planning on it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Definitely. Awesome, Cole. Well, I appreciate you taking the time for this. Best of luck in training over the next month, and excited to cheer you on in Tokyo.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.